Netflix bags Warner and they all start to roar.
Theaters feel death scratching close at the door.
Massive change looms unless DC brings the fight.
And slams down the merger. Banned clean outright. Ooh boy, bloodbath!
I mean, I guess you could call it a bloodbath, but that's...
I'm calling it a bloodbath. I'm calling it a bloodbath. I don't care. I don't care. I want to call it a bloodbath. I like saying the word.
Oh, okay. Anyway, let's talk about this because this has a lot of implications. So first off, as you can see, Netflix posted. Do you want to read what Netflix posted?
Today, Netflix announced our acquisition of Warner Brothers. Together, we'll define the next century of storytelling, creating an extraordinary entertainment offering for audiences everywhere. Waka, 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 waka.
First off, there is a chance that this will not go through because keep in mind, this is a big change. This is a big thing. You might not think it is, but it kind of is in a sense where basically I keep making this comparison and nobody else seems to understand or remember what it is. Do you guys remember a game from a while back called Agario?
That sounds familiar.
So it was a game where you had a bunch of different colored blobs and your goal was eating up other blobs. And honestly, I feel like there are just a bunch of big blobs. One of them's Netflix, one of them's Disney, one of them's whatever. And they're just eating the other blobs. And at the end of the day, we'll end up having them all eat each other.
Yeah, that sounds accurate. It's a snowball effect.
Yes, but whether this goes through or not is not the point. If it does go through, there's going to be some major changes. Now, Netflix has already come out and made some things clear, but the first thing people were concerned about is what does this mean for theaters? Because Netflix is not a movie studio. They are a streaming service.
And streaming has really impacted theaters.
What they said is if this does go through, is that they're going to change the amount of time it takes between projects and kind of, appeal to consumers more, which I think is pretty good. But I do not like this fact that is happening because I think having separation between some of the major franchises is a good thing. At the same time, I also think having multiple different streaming services is a recipe for a disaster. Now, a lot of people these days like to stream things and watch movies at home, especially if they're available, right?
That is true. I mean, I can say that we've done the same thing once it's available on the streaming service.
It is. It is a very common thing. It's not unusual to do, and it makes a lot of sense given that the viewing habits of people have changed quite a lot. And I will bring up the COOF and say that it did impact things, but it's not just that. Now, keep in mind, Netflix acquiring Warner Brothers would also mean Netflix has made some very controversial decisions in the past, like, for example, cuties and race swapping things and whatever. It's become a meme. There's a lot of factors here, but the main one is what would this mean for theaters? And even if it changes how movies are released in Warner Brothers in theaters, I still think we have to understand the bigger picture here is the fact that this can even happen and the fact that all these things are being bought out and being absorbed. At the end of the day, what's to stop it from eventually all being one just big company?
Absolutely nothing is stopping that from happening. All it takes is a matter of acquisition. And the right amount of money.
So we'll have to wait and see how this goes. I've been told that there is a hush-hush order that no one's allowed to talk about the merger, what's going on behind the scenes. I do believe the CEO of Netflix has said some things like about the streaming windows and whatever. But we won't know for sure if this gets put through, but the changes and the implications of such a big, massive acquisition is something to keep in mind. It has been done before, okay?
True.
At the same time, there's a lot of things going on here, a lot of factors to consider. It's possible that it goes through and that it's a good thing. It's possible that it goes through and it's a terrible, horrible thing. Chances are, if it does go through, it's going to be a combination of both. But I think the best possible outcome here would be for it to get slapped down. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to. I think they're going to allow it.
Why do you think they're going to allow it? Because Warner Brothers has been struggling to make money?
I think they'll allow it because At this point, ask yourself this. If they've already allowed other like Paramount and Sky, Comcast, all this kind of stuff, they're all bidding for this, right? If there was a huge problem with this happening, you'd think that when the bidding began, someone would have said something or interjected. The fact that the bidding was even allowed to go on makes some interesting questions.
That is a good point. I actually didn't think of that.
Yeah. So again, it's just something to consider. Again, we will not know for sure if this goes through, but it does potentially bode a very chilling future. I think that it should be slapped down. I think it shouldn't be allowed. I think it's way too big of an acquisition. But I think that at the end of the day, I think one thing that would be quite funny is if all these companies end up getting absorbed into one thing and then we just have one streaming service, we could just call it cable.
Why do I feel like that is what's going to end up happening eventually?
It all comes back around again.
Yes. There is nothing new under the sun, as I once heard said.
Share with your crew, escape life's hell. From spooky memes to advice obscure, here's your dark solace of humor as a cure.